Hello, it is the 20th of May, it's Monday, and this is a bit of, as I said before, this is a bit of an interesting news week for crypto assets. And so far today, it's all a little bit of a fast-moving market in terms of news. So last week, everyone was really down, and the ETH ETF is not going to get approved. And then all of a sudden today, a few things have happened. Sonnenschein, the CEO of Grayscale, has settled with the New York Attorney General for the DCG Genesis stuff. Settlement was for $2 billion. So an out-of-court settlement. And all of a sudden, we are hearing that the odds of an ETH ETF are skyrocketing. Some Bloomberg market analysts are pricing it at maybe 75% chance. As I said before, I still think it's a bit of a lottery ticket. And I'm told that the reasons for this may be political. You know, Joe Biden has upset an awful lot of students, sending in armed police to their colleges and universities, and isn't really very popular with young people. Maybe he has been persuaded that regulating or expanding crypto or being positive for crypto would be a good thing. Especially, we've seen some comments from Trump lately about trying to portray himself as more crypto positive. I'm not sure that any of them are, to be honest, and I don't think it will change Elizabeth Warren's ideas. So it's a little bit dangerous. So let's take a look at what the charts say. But certainly there has been a little bit of is it because the price moved today? I don't know, but there is certainly a feeling that potentially the ETH ETF may get approved. And as I said before, at the weekend, I think that that's the one move that's underpriced at the moment, that it gets approved, because so many people were so convinced it wouldn't. Okay, let's take a look at Bitcoin now. Let's take a look at spot Bitcoin first, because here we are at the top of this channel, potentially a very nice bullish flag with 70,000. Now, for a number of reasons, this 70,000 level is really key resistance. Whenever you make an equal measured move pattern or a three-wave corrective pattern, XYZ or ABC, the most common retrace of that pattern is a 786 fib retrace, and then you're likely to see a deep retrace there before breaking out. So we are here. Also, if we measure this as corrective for a couple of reasons, this is resistance. So if I measure this first swing, project it from here, this is where the equal measured move is from this low. Also, sometimes in a correction, when you think you've seen a complete three-wave correction, it's actually the first part of it, and the problem is the B wave in the middle quite often. So if you see a normal correction, so we're in a downtrend, I'm drawing it wrong, let's start again. In an uptrend, right, you'll have a three-wave correction like this, and on you go again. Now this wave in the middle, it's kind of important that you can see it in three waves as well, I find. Sometimes though it gets a little bit stretched out, so that wave in the middle, you'll see a first swing lower, and this wave in the middle won't be equal, it'll be a little bit like that, and then you'll see this. So we see first swing, correction, second swing. So they're not always like you think they're going to be. Sometimes they're a little bit like this, and then you see the next swing lower. So what am I trying to say? One of the first signs of that is if these swings are equal. So if we measure this swing here, low to high, they were equal here. So this range, this zone here, where we've got our 786 fib level and these two equal measured move projections, become a kind of important resistance. So what is the support that tells us we are still going higher? Well, for me, just from simple Fibonacci things, when you reverse to the 786 fib, if you get underneath this the sit back test of the 61.8, which is these highs at 67,000, the most common place that you retrace to is the 38.2, which is 63,000. So we can say that we're going to keep trending higher. Then the most likely move here is, as long as we don't have a daily close back underneath 67,000, we are just going to do a little bit of a pullback consolidation potentially and then continue higher. If we get underneath 67,000, we are likely to see a bigger pullback to 63,000. Underneath 63,000, then we can say, well, this whole rally channel, that would break that, and we would see that next leg lower. And then we can say, well, that's likely to go. We can measure it. We will measure our first swing from this, and like this. So here's our support, and 57,500 would be where we go to if we come down here again, which would then make a double bottom, which would be more typical for a crypto. Double tops and double bottoms, especially where you spike retest them, are very common in crypto. So that's really where we are. 67,000 needs to hold support, and I would expect a little bit of back and fill here. I've drawn this, people will say, oh, look, you haven't drawn it exactly, it should be like this, and a widening thing. And, these parallel channels, sometimes you have to fiddle with them to get them to line up exactly, and they're not an exact science. You could, I would say, either draw them carefully or casually, or draw them with a very thick pen. But around this, 70,000 area, I am expecting a little bit of a pullback and a breakout. Hooray, that would be very good news. I think that we need to see some more good news this week with the ETH ETF, with the Ripple. We've also got the FIT, there's a FIT 21 US proposal, which is to establish a regulatory framework for the issuance of digital assets with the CFTC overseeing them. That would be really positive for crypto if that happens. A huge number of digital asset firms are pushing for that to happen. So that would be some really good financial innovation, and that would be good news for this space as well. So it's a bill to do with the structure, but the problem up until now, and the reason there have been so many lawsuits, is because there really hasn't been a structure for regulation of these assets, and so they've tried to regulate with lawsuits, which is never good. Okay, so ETH. Now, ETH is a little bit of a troubling level, but it certainly is rallying on this news. Now, as I'm speaking, we are spiking through the troubling level. As you know, my favorite setup is a 3-wave measured move back to a 50% level, and when I was starting to record this, that level was 34.50, 34.30. So really kind of next key level on this breakout. I would like to see ETH hold above, ETH dollar, if we're going to keep going higher, is this 34.30 level. Now, the other thing we can say about this big move that we started at the beginning of March is it's a 3-wave move. We've got a very nice clear 3 waves here in the middle for this B leg, and so the most common retrace of this 3-wave move is a 786 fib retrace. So that's up here. So we can now say if we hold above 34.50, we should continue to 3,800 before we get this decision, and then obviously if it's approved, it will explode because it's a 786 fib. If there's some kind of wobble, then we are likely to potentially come back to. So then we can say that this 61.8 has to be support. Underneath it, we're more likely to come back to this 38.2 and potentially another leg lower, only potentially. So overnight here, 34.50 becomes quite an interesting level that we need to hold above in ETH if we're going to keep going, and everyone's running up to buy their lottery tickets for this ETH ETF approval. So what else is exciting out there? There are some let's go look at some meme coins. There are some quite interesting charts out there. Now, Doge, we said if this was going to go higher and this correction was over in Doge, we would need to get back above this daily 50 moving average that was resistance at the beginning of the month. and here we are back at the top of this sideways range. No breakout here for this one. Then I kind of think that this would make a quite interesting inverted head and shoulders pattern if we can break higher here. So above 0.158 we should get to 0.17. Above 0.17 we have got that bullish pattern. At the moment, yeah, it's not quite doing it. Some of the other ones that look more bearish for me, dog with hat for example, I thought that we might break down here underneath 2.47. We are still in this choppy sideways range. So for me, I have to say that I don't think the means are the story tonight. There are some other, you know, link. This is quite an interesting start. Some of these OG charts, right? Let's go to the weekly. Let's look at this, because whenever you get, when you pull back into these moving averages and then you pull above them, it's normally quite a bullish move. As you know, I like this chart mainly because we had this really nice long consolidation. And when you break out from a really long consolidation like that, you tend to go a little bit further. We went very nicely in a very nice 5-wave move. In this final swing was very nice 5 waves. See 5 waves up, be looking for 3 waves back and continuing up again. 3 waves back, also back to this swing low. So in terms of chain link, we have pulled back to ideal support zone. We've closed above these weekly moving averages. We're looking really strong. So at this point, if you haven't bought any yet, you're kind of going, oh well, let's see some red and a little bit of a pullback, or maybe back test this daily 200 moving average. That would be really nice. Kind of choppy sideways. So last time I looked at this, I was looking for this 200-day moving average to hold. It has. We are squeezing high. It's a little bit choppy at the moment. Doesn't want to give you a nice pullback to let people in, but if you can find one, I think Link should see some more upside because of the way all of this is lined up. Now, if this was just a 3-wave correction and it's part of a bigger correction, as you know, because we can clearly see this here. Most common retrace would be what, 786. So, you know, that's up here back at 20.55 and back to these range highs. So looking pretty good here above the daily 200 moving average in chain link. Another one that might be setting up a bit of an old school is Polkadot. Here, look at this on the weekly. So this has done a very similar pattern. So from the lows last summer in October, sorry, not August, October, very nice, I think, very nice rally. I want to say that it's 5 waves. I don't think it was a 3-wave correction, but it's a little bit hard to see. Either way, whenever you pull back into these moving averages, and whenever you pull back into these moving averages, these weekly moving averages, and back to the previous swing low, you should at least see a bounce from here. So, and a move higher. And if we can break out of this consolidation back above this weekly moving average, we should see another swing higher. If I look at this on the daily, you can see we've got this really nice sideways consolidation, and we're testing third touch of this trend line, this kind of wedge support here, and the daily 200 moving average. I'm not interested in getting in this unless it breaks out, and how but if it were to, and again, get out of this sideways range, then I think we can say that this whole correction's over and we are in a swing higher, having held these lows very nicely. So watching Polkadot as well. Okay, I've got some requests tonight, so let's take a look at those. First one we're going to look at is NMT, NetMind token. Now, let's go back to the rules. And so when I look at this, so first off, this is a daily chart. We've had a very nice swing higher. It looks like a 3-wave. When coins first launch, it's rare to see a trendy move. You tend to see them make big kind of 3-wave patterns. So 1, 2, 3 up, 1, 2, 3 down, and here we are starting another one. And if that's the case, then this next swing should have a relationship to this first swing. And then, of course, if it extends, then we can say, oh yeah, we are going to start trending. So for me, when I look at it this way, now that we've got above these moving averages and we've resumed an uptrend, we've taken out this swing high, the first target should be 11.5, and then 15, the equal measured move, would be back to these range highs and 15.6. So this is a very nice example of that. And when I look at this move here, you can see we've gone beyond this equal measured move level here. We look like we're making a 5 waves up, so we shouldn't come back past these swing lows. It's a little bit too extended for me to want to buy it here, but I think it is a nice buy on pullbacks like this. So you need to see some red, pull back into these moving averages, and then when it turns green again, it's an interesting buy. And then I would be looking for 11.5 and 15.6 on the upside. So Netmind token, yes, this one is nice looking and has some more upside to come. Let's take a look at some more. So let's look at SEI. Start with the weekly with this one. Now, if I measure, we're sitting underneath the weekly 20 moving average here, which has now become a little bit of a resistance in this sideways range. And if I then look at fib retraces from the low that we made in October to this swing high, we pull back very nicely to this 61.8 fib level. So for me, getting back above this weekly 20 moving average, or more importantly, back above this 50% pivot level, we should at least get up to this 0.74, and then this level should become support if we're going to keep going higher. So bit of a tricky sideways range on the weekly. We've been here, what, 6 weeks? And today, just like quite a few of them, like Doge and some of the others that I'm looking at in the altcoin space, look like they've made a little bit of an inverted head and shoulders. They are stuck underneath the daily 50 moving average, which is really important resistance. So here we are. So not going up unless we get back above this, unfortunately, here on the daily. But that would be our bullish move. And also, because this is a little inverted head and shoulders pattern, when you break the neckline, we can project, you know, from this low here, which I think also takes us to this 38.2. So you project this distance from the breakout, and that also gives us this 38.2 target. So we can say that if we can close and hold above this daily 50 moving average, which is at 0.58, our next upside target is 0.74, and then this zone, pivot zone in the middle, should be support, and after a pullback we should continue higher. We might even just blast through this level. So SEI potentially setting up, I like it, above the daily 50. Tau, which is BitSensor. Let's take a look at this one. I'm going to start with the weekly. Let's get rid of this momentum out of the way. Now, there's lots to like about this. What a spectacular rally that we had in this one. Again, this is another one holding under the weekly 20 moving average. Haven't fallen back to this swing low, which is where potentially we could come back to. So are we maybe at a fib level that would like to bounce from? And I see that we're underneath this all-time 50% level. Not all charts will show this. You know, some charts don't have this much data. Sometimes if you take the most recent swing as well, that would give you a little bit of an indication. For me, this is not quite saying bottom yet. So the fibs we can't really lean on. But let's take a look at these daily moving averages. And so just like quite a lot of the charts that we are looking at, we are sideways, holding underneath the 200 moving average, which was support at the beginning of the month. So not quite a bullish reversal yet. What also I'm watching at, this is a double top here. We came down the low in the middle. We haven't quite really reached this double top target, have we? Which is a little bit lower, which is also back towards these 200 area and these swing lows. So I have to say I'm not feeling it yet, but back above this 200 moving average, or you know, taking out some of these swing highs and then buying pullback. What would be really bullish is all the way up here to this previous swing high and then pulling back and holding above the 200 moving average. So at the moment, I have to say no, it's not there's two reasons I want to buy something, because I can clearly see it's trending higher and it pulls back to a support level to let me in, or if it has got really oversold and is a really great kind of confluence of reasons why I would want to buy it. And so BitSensible really hasn't pulled back to a really great setup level for me and is not trending higher yet. So I would say I'm afraid pass on that one. And then let's take a look at Ampleforth. God, when you look at the weekly on this one, this is one of those ones where, you know, when you get down, you can say if we get down to 0.5 like we did here, it's a really great buy, and when we get up to like 2.4, it's a really great sell, and then we've got this horrible range in the middle around 1. What's quite cool is lately, really in the last year or so, every time we pull back to this 1, the round number 1, we have bounced from it and we bounce up to 1.8 or 2. So maybe the daily moving averages are giving us a little bit of a signal, and we can see, you know, pretty nicely that when we get above these daily moving averages, they do tend to be support and we go back to the top of the range. Because I really don't like, as you know, diddling in the middle without a really good signal. I kind of like what we are doing here in this, you know, three-way measured move. It looks like equal pullback, and it does look like we are setting up for the next swing higher in Ampleforth. But gosh, let's try and look at it maybe against, I don't know, you've asked me for this token and not the governance token, so let's take a look at it against Bitcoin. See if it's, this is quite a nice bullish reversal and pullback in against Bitcoin, but I have to say I don't, looking at the bigger picture, I really don't see, apart from it's bouncing from a really great place down here at the all-time lows, it's not it's not a good enough setup yet, I'm afraid, unless you know something, in which case go for it and good luck.